Hi everyone, this is Carolyn from Pinterest Partner Operations. Today we'll be doing the final webinar in our series, the Pin Creative Best Practices webinar. And today we'll be covering how to create beautiful and helpful pins that help your business goals. So I am joined by Nikki on the Pin Factory team, and also Elizabeth, who's a partner manager, and they'll be talking through some tips and advice on how to get started in creating these pins. Just to check, can everyone hear? If you can hear, chat in and let us know. If you can't hear or audio is spotty, don't worry. We'll be following up with an email with a recording of this webinar as well as the recordings for all the previous webinars. So a few logistics. You can ask questions with a Q&A box on the right of your screen at any time. My colleague Abby will be moderating questions during the webinar. And at the end of the webinar, we'll pick the top asked questions and go over the answers with you. All right, without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, so like Carolyn mentioned, I'm a partner manager here at Pinterest, and I'm really excited for this session specifically because I think creative is the most important lever that a partner can use to find success on our platform. So just to get started and level set, I think we think of Pinterest as the world's catalog of ideas, and the best ideas we think come from businesses. Business content is actionable, it's credible, and it's relevant to pinners. And businesses like you guys are the ones that help pinners both find inspiration and turn their ideas into action. Almost 75% of content on Pinterest comes from businesses, so it would look a little different if we didn't have partners like you all on the platform. What's so unique is that this content really isn't disruptive to a user's experience, but for that reason, we rely on really great content to help pinners find what they need, find things they love, and keep them happy on the platform. So, to help your businesses stand out and to help you all find success, Nikki from the Pin Factory is going to walk through our creative best practices, you guys how to easily repurpose existing content for Pinterest, and then I'll jump back in and we can walk through ad standards, and then we'll open it for Q&A.
Thanks, Lizzie. Hi guys, I'm Nikki from the Pin Factory. Let's review some best practices to keep in mind as you launch your first set of promoted pins. People come to Pinterest to feel inspired, so give them an idea. All pins should be ideas. Regardless of your objective, we recommend always developing creative that is helpful, beautiful, and actionable. For helpful, you want to provide the pinner with some utility, offering tips, advice, or instructions. Like Lizzie said, almost 3/4 of the content is coming from brands like yourself, so ensure the pins are professionally shot and beautiful and really stand out as a pinner scrolls. And lastly, you want pins to be actionable. Pinterest is a platform where people take the ideas that they find and they do them in real life. In addition to those three main principles, we have developed a set of creative best practices to help drive your brand equity with your creative. Today we're going to go through vertical aspect ratio, detailed descriptions, compelling images or multi-product shots, a little bit of text overlay, and tasteful branding. So let's jump into it. Most people are browsing Pinterest on their mobile phone. And as you know, pins are organized into columns, so vertical pins take up more real estate within the feed. A great aspect ratio is the 2:3, or 600 pixels by 900 pixels, which is seen is the girl in the blue skirt. Target uses a little bit more creative space, seen here, to tell a different type of story with this elongated tent. Now let's move into detailed description. The description should always complement the image. This is where you can add a little bit more detail about the pin image. You can insert some relevant keywords, and a lot of you are probably running promotions. So the description is a great place to put all of that promotional language and information. Things like 50% off, buy one, get one free. Add that into the description. One thing not to include, though, is hashtags. Hashtags aren't inherently used on the platform, nor do they really even help in search. Pinterest favors relevancy over recency. Imagine yourself walking down the street window shopping. You look into a store window and you see a variety of different products. Department stores do this on purpose. They want to appeal to many different audiences and different tastes. The same thing goes with pens. Show off a variety of colors and styles so a person knows what to expect when they click through the pen and onto your site. Have your product be the hero of the pen, whether it's being worn on a model or if it's against a plain background. Now let's move to text overlay. I love talking about text overlay because it's something that's really unique to Pinterest. We don't have a limit as to how much text you can include, like some other platforms. But one rule of thumb is if the image can't stand on its own, if the idea isn't clear from the image alone, that's where you'll want to add some text overlay. This text overlay should be helpful, but one thing it should not be is promotional. Lizzie will talk a little bit more about ad standards, but we actually can't include promotional language like the 50% off or the buy one, get one free or free shipping. Again, put that into the description. Now let's move into tasteful branding. Pinterest is a place where people go to find brands they love, and some of those brands they might not have even heard of. Show off your brand to build awareness and equity by including some tasteful branding. Leota seen here is a clothing brand. They've included their logo watermark. Other brands include their beautiful colors like the Tiffany blue or the Coca-Cola red. Pinterest users welcome brands, and since it's a really commercial place, there's a lot of intent, and people want to learn and understand what that brand has to offer. Now let's talk about repurposing content that you're probably already making for other platforms for Pinterest. First, I want to start out with a test that we recently ran with a boutique brand that's modern and luxurious accessories named Von Holsten. We took images from their site, product images, products in use. We stacked them together, as seen on the right-hand side, to create a multi-image pen. We saw 7 times more clicks on this multi-image pen than just the pen of the single shot. It's a small change, but can garner real big success. Scouring the web, you'll find a ton of pin inspiration, from websites to Facebook to even Instagram. Take some of these elements that you'll see on the site or Instagram and incorporate them into a pin. For instance, this Levi's website has all the right ingredients to make the pin. A beautiful image of a model showing off the latest season's clothing, some really great and helpful text overlay. Put that into a vertical aspect ratio, and there you have it, a pin. Looking at Levi's again, they had some beautiful images that they were using on Facebook. All they needed to do was add some text overlay to help enforce what the idea is. Here, it's these ripped jeans. Added on a logo so the pinner knows that these jeans come from Levi's. And again, there you have it, a pin. Our last example is from Instagram, the brand Clinique. They also have all the right ingredients. Multi-image shot posted to Instagram. They'll take that, add on some text overlay of each of the different products, and then some helpful text overlay that says "At Home Mini Spa." Include some step-by-step instructions in the description, and there you go, a really helpful pin.
Great. So now that Nikki's walked through all of the best practices, I just want to take some time to walk through our ad standards to make sure that promoted pins are both beautiful, actionable, and also interesting. Our policy team has a set of standards that we hold all partners to. In general, we just ask that partners be authentic and promote content that makes you proud of your brand. We also ask that you keep things legal and don't promote spam or other content that might make a pinner feel unsafe. To make this more clear, I'll walk through a few of the common reasons that ads are disapproved by the policy team. So things we don't allow within a pin image. The biggest thing, and Nikki mentioned this earlier, is we won't allow information about how much something costs. So phrases like free, 20% off, or 2 for the price of 1 within the image itself will get disapproved. This type of copy really belongs in the description. Nikki mentioned this also, but we won't allow text overlay that creates a false sense of urgency. So things like click or buy now. We want to make sure the pinner clicks because they're interested in that content and want to learn more, and not because they're provoked. And then lastly, any low quality, low resolution, typically user-generated content will likely be disapproved. Within the pin description, and again, Nikki touched on this, a couple things to note. The first is hashtags. We only allow one hashtag in a description. Hashtags just don't work on Pinterest the way they do on other platforms, and they can end up confusing pinners. So we ask that you only use one. And then just make sure that your pin has a description. If a pin is uploaded without one, it will get disapproved for that reason. And then finally, for a pinned landing page, make sure that you're driving to a high quality page with no more than 3 ads in the first frames. You also want to make sure that pinners know if the landing page requires a sign up before they can access content, and you should do that in the pin description. There's a full list of guidelines on our business site for everyone to reference if there are additional questions about policy. But now I think we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Nikki and Lizzie. So if you haven't already and you have some questions, please feel free to chat in. We'll be picking out the top asked questions to respond to. I guess.
Great. So and I'm going to take the first question here. Most businesses on Pinterest are for products. How can a service, like a health coach, for example, use Pinterest for their practice? I think there's a lot of ideas around what a health coach might be able to offer. A coach is a person, not a robot. They're not a website. They're going to give you a more authentic and real sampling of what you can do to become more healthy. That is an idea in itself. And you can definitely create a pin using that basis. I imagine a beautiful photo of a coach helping someone in the gym get fit with a little bit of text overlay about the service, how they can sign up, what the coaching entails, etc. Again, think about each pin as the idea. If the idea doesn't stand alone through just the image, add on that text overlay to really hone in on what your service is and how pinners can sign up for it.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think people come to Pinterest really just to elevate the everyday life. So they're looking for both products and services. And I think, for example, a health coach would be really welcomed on Pinterest. I think our pinners are looking for that type of service in their lives as well.
Great. We have another question from Amy. She's talking about the aspect ratio, the 2:3 aspect ratio, 600 by 900 pixels. She's asking if that's the largest ad you can run. It's not. It's kind of the standard size that I like to recommend. You can go a bit taller, but one thing I'd caution, pins truncate when they get too tall, meaning when you're scrolling through the feed, you might see a little bar that pops up on a really tall pin that says expand pin. In order to go tall, but not too tall, the tallest size I would recommend is a 1 to 1.6 aspect ratio. The next question here is there an optimal character count for copy for pins? Jennifer, great question. The maximum is 500 characters. I like to say stick within 200 to 500 characters, but know that the character limit is it's actually truncated also in the feed. It's truncated to just 3 lines, which is about 60 characters. One tip that I'd like to say here is include relevant keywords in your descriptions. Don't just throw in words just to throw them in. The description should always complement the image, should give the pinner informational words around the service, how they could sign up, different deals. That's where you want to use up all that 500 character space, is talking through that.
Another question is, if your creative does not specifically match to an interest, should I only use keywords to target? I always recommend that creative match the targeting. They should be relevant. However, if you know that your audience is interested in something outside of what your creative is talking about, it's okay to include it and see how it performs.
Great. Another question is, could you give some graphic design tips for people who are new to the service? Yeah, so a pin is actually quite simple. It's a beautiful image. It's some sort of branding, usually a logo, and then if needed, some text overlay. Another question here asked if there's any tools that you recommend. There is one tool that I like to go to spark some creativity and help me lay out a pin sometimes. That tool is called canva.com. We recommend it because there is a pin template already in there, and there's a list of many different templates within the pin size that you can use.
Another question is whether or not businesses are using their page only to sell, only to give people ideas to make on their own, or both. And I think the answer is absolutely both. This is a place to feature your service, your products, but also inspire action. So as long as you're highlighting your brand's value, I think you can absolutely do both on Pinterest.
Great. Candy's asking about text overlay and if there's a specific format. I wouldn't say that there is a specific format. What I would do is if you're a beauty company and you're looking on how to incorporate text overlay on your beauty pins, I'd simply search the beauty category and see what other brands, bloggers, content creators are doing and kind of creatively borrow their ideas. One thing I've noticed for the beauty category, for example, is you really like to, the beauty brands really like to mix the different typographies. So they'll use a script font with a serif font or sans serif font. The mixture really catches the eye when a pinner's scrolling in the feed, and also just has a hint of like a glamour or a more prestige look for these beauty brands.
A question from Jasleen is, I hope I'm saying that right, is why is only one hashtag allowed? As I mentioned before, we really ask that you stick to one hashtag. They just don't work on Pinterest like they do on other platforms, and they won't help you track what's trending. And they ultimately confuse pinners, is what we found. You are allowed one, and if you do choose to include a hashtag, we recommend trying your business name or a short tagline.
I think some people have some questions around landing pages and just defining that a little bit more. When we say landing pages, yes, that does mean your website. So every pin is anchored with a URL. That URL could be your website. It could be a different board or even a different pin. That URL is really based on you, but we do say that you want to match the URL to the content of the pin.
One last question is, are businesses using their business profile to sell things, give people ideas to make on their own, or both? That's a great question, and it really depends on your business. So if you are a home furniture business, you may have different boards that kind of contain some of your products, but also other ones are just idea boards. So people really go to your profile as a source of truth to find new ideas when they're thinking about their kitchen remodels or the living room remodels. And they may go into that board and find some of your products that really resonate with them and be able to click through and also save them to their own boards. So it really depends on what your business is. I think the best way to think about your profile is what are the different ways someone might find your brand helpful and relevant. So another example is like if you are running a business on children's party products, like then you'll have different boards for different themes or different age groups, and then sprinkle in some of your products and some of your content on those boards, but also supplement them with other content that you find from other bloggers. Just make sure that they're linking to those pages. You don't want to take credit for other people's content. That's not legal, and on Pinterest we really do take copyright very seriously. But that will help make your boards really rich with both content that they can take action on your website and also content that they can get inspiration on from other sources. Yeah, Nikki has one.
Yeah, one more question that I think is really important to answer, and that's the question on how important is creative on Pinterest? It's incredibly important, and it's something that you can actually have a lot of fun with. People are using Pinterest for many different reasons. They might know what they want to do, so they'll go and search that. Or others might just browse and find something they love and think they can pull it off. It's both inspiration and aspiration. And you can tell those kind of stories and get those ideas across through your creative within the pin. So really have fun with it. The creative best practices that I went over today, I hope will help you in kind of structuring the pin to be able to be engaging and savable.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nikki and Lizzie. Again, we'll be following up with an email either today or tomorrow with the recording of this webinar, as well as the 3 other webinars in our series. At the end of this webinar, there'll be a survey. Please do fill that out. This is the first time we ever run a webinar like this, and we really want to hear your feedback for how we can improve this and make it better and more helpful to you and your business. All right, so happy Thursday, and hope to see you in our next webinar series.